Butterfly Kisses 2018 is a found footage film that is very interesting, very good in my opinion, and it's relatively still unknown. Like, it's been getting more recognition as the years have been going by, but which is good to see because it definitely deserves more recognition because this is a very interesting and unique found footage movie. It's like a faux documentary slash found footage. Now, I've been putting off doing this movie on Found Footage Fridays for the last few weeks. I wanted to do this since the first Friday I started this channel. And the first Found Footage Friday, I wanted to do it, and then I said, it's gonna be a fucking hard movie to talk about, man. Because this movie is layered, it is dense. And the next Friday came. I said, all right, I'll do Butterfly Kisses today. And I think I even mentioned in a review that I'll do it later tonight. And then just again, I was like, yeah, but this is going to be hard as shit to talk about. And then tonight I just said, all right, I'm going to finally, I felt like rewatching it too. So I said, all right, let's just finally knock this shit out. It's so hard to talk about this movie because for any of you that have seen it, you know kind of what I'm about to say, but anyone who hasn't seen it, I'll give a small little plot synopsis. Basically, it's this up-and-coming wannabe film director, filmmaker, finds this box of found footage tapes that a student duo in college, like college film students, were making about this urban legend in their town called Peeping Tom. And he sets out to prove that this footage is real, and that he starts doing a lot of interviews and trying to track down people and experts and stuff in this found footage that he found to try to prove that this footage is real, while a documentary crew is following him, telling his story. And that's basically the plot synopsis of it. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It is on Tubi for free right now. It's been on Tubi for a while, so I'm sure it's going to be on there for a while to come. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out because I'm about to talk spoilers in the best way that I can. So, like I said, this movie is very hard to talk about because it is so layered, as we are basically watching a movie about a documentary crew who is making a movie about this filmmaker, Gavin York, and his story about finding these found footage tapes of these college kids making their found footage movie documentary about this urban legend Peeping Tom. So if you're confused already, join the fucking club because this shit is like 3-4 movies in one. And it bounces back and forth between interviews in the found footage with the college kids and footage from their film and their footage, and then interviews with Gavin and the people in his world and everything, trying to prove that it's real, and then bouncing back to the documentary crew. He's making a film about Gavin and his story, trying to prove it's real and everything. It's such a layered film, man. And what I really love about this movie is it's basically a dissection of the whole found footage genre. Like, this movie goes great lengths and does it very well about discussing the whole genre of found footage, and that it's all been done 1,000 times before, and no one's going to believe that this is real, and that it's obvious that there's manipulation, and that none of this is true, and that you're just trying to make a horror movie and get your foot in the door in Hollywood. And it has great commentary on the whole subgenre of found footage, so that makes it alone very unique and has a very interesting premise to it. So it's not just like a straight up found footage movie. This is like I said, like a dissection of the whole subgenre, which is done very, very well. So we'll try to talk about this movie. We'll probably go all over the place, and this will probably run a little long, but hey, what are you gonna do? So it's 2018, directed by Eric Christopher Myers, which I don't think he's done anything since. Oh, actually, that's right. He passed away like a few years after this movie came out, which sucks because this is a great film. And I would love to see another film by this guy. But unfortunately, yeah, he passed away. I remember reading that when I first saw this movie. But we open up with Sophia in 2004 with a little interview of hers saying that whoever finds her footage to take this final interview and split it, cut it, and put it at the beginning and the end of the film. If anyone ends up finding her footage and puts the film together and everything, and they'll know when to make the cut. And she mentions that this is the story of Peeping Tom. So then we meet Gavin York, who's a film major and a filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker, who finds these box of tapes of Sophia and her cameraman Feldman's project film that they were working on, the documentary of Peeping Tom, labeled "Don't Watch" on the box, with like 40 plus tapes just filled with all of the two students' footage and film and documentary that they were working on. And this is like their thesis project, and Gavin decides to splice together the footage and try to clean it up and make it presentable and finish the film for them. So we see some interviews. There's a lot of interviews in this movie, man, but they remain interesting throughout the whole movie. Like, it never feels like it's like padding the runtime. It never feels like unnecessary for any reason. Like, it's very interesting interviews that they have throughout this whole movie. Like, it always keeps me engaged the few times that I've watched this movie, and this rewatch was no exception. And like, we see interviews with the town people all over, I think it takes place in Maryland, and them talking about the local legend of Peeping Tom, which if you go into this old train trestle like tunnel at midnight, and you're supposed to stare down this tunnel at midnight for an hour without blinking, then Peeping Tom will appear and materialize at the end of the tunnel. And basically, once you see him, you can't unsee him. And every time you blink, he gets closer and closer and closer to you until he's right up in front of your face. And, you know, you have, as one of the guys says, the expert on like folklore, it says like you have death staring you in the face and you'll do anything to not blink. But he has very long eyelashes, this Peeping Tom urban legend, and he'll give you butterfly kiss, which most people know, like you do to babies and stuff like that, with you flickle your eyelash with theirs and stuff, and it'll make you blink, and that's when he gets you and kills you. I'm a sucker for urban legends, especially like films and stuff that revolve around like unique urban legends, which this is a unique one, man. Like, it's nothing like I've ever heard before. So that instantly drew me in when I first saw this movie, like a few years back. I think I saw this like maybe a year after it came out, year and a half after it came out, something like that. And yeah, man, it just completely drew me in just with that premise alone for the urban legend of this Peeping Tom guy, or Blink Man, as he's also called around town and everything. So they give a description of Peeping Tom and some like artist sketches and drawings. It has like long eyelashes and like long fingers, and wears a black top hat, and like is dressed all in black. He's very skinny and everything. Cool, like cool description, cool look of him and everything. We don't see him too much in the film itself, but like we see drawings, like I said, and like sketches from Feldman, the camera guy, and who's making this documentary on Peeping Tom with Sophia. See, this is what I'm saying. It's going to get fucking complicated saying which fucking film and documentary I'm talking about. But in the original documentary with the two college kids making it, like we see drawings from the camera guy Feldman and stuff, and like what he thinks this guy looks like and everything. It's a cool look. It's very unique. And so Gavin, the up-and-coming filmmaker who's found this footage, is trying to investigate and try to see if this is all bullshit or if it's actually real. So he tries looking for Sophia and Feldman, the two students in the original documentary, and finds no record of them whatsoever. We see later on in their footage the professor, and there's no record of her either. Like, he checks all the colleges around and in Maryland and everything. No recollection, no record of any of them. He even looks for, there's like an eye doctor who comes on the footage, the original footage, and is talking about like the world record for being able to not blink while staring. And he says it's something like 30 to 40 minutes is like might be the world record, but even that stretching it, and like after 15 minutes any normal person would be, and it's fucking true, man. I don't know how many of you have, I mean, I'm sure so many people have done staring contests and stuff like that, but even after a few minutes, man, your eyes start burning, your eyes start fucking hurting. So staring down a tunnel for an hour without blinking, that's fucking ridiculous. Get out of here. There's no one who's doing that. No one on this planet who is fucking doing that. Unless you have no eyelids or something like that. Hint. And I love the idea of them using the camera as like a fake eye, like a replacement equivalent for the human eye to capture Peeping Tom on camera. Like, I'm not a camera expert. I don't know much about cameras. All I know is you push a button and a picture appears. Or a video starts recording. How it gets there, it is anyone's fucking guess. I have no idea how cameras work, but I thought it was cool. It was a cool little unique way of addressing that fact that, yeah, nobody is staring down this tunnel without blinking for a fucking hour. Like, it's never gonna happen. They even have some, like, college kid who's a, professional staring contest winner or some shit like that category even exists somewhere, I don't know, and he tries staring down the tunnel and he makes it like a little over 10 minutes or something like that, and then his eyes are killing him. So like they figure, we're not going to find anybody who's going to actually do this, and no shit, fucking there's nobody who can do this. So they use the camera, since the camera lens is like an eye. And I thought it was a unique idea of addressing the fact that nobody can actually do that. And so they film down this tunnel from midnight until 1 a.m. for an hour, and then they don't see anything right away. And then they go back to the camera guy's house, and they start looking back at the footage, and they see an image of this figure, this dressed in black figure, just peeping up and standing up at the end of the tunnel. And they found their Peeping Tom, and they know that it's real because they didn't plan any of this, they didn't fake it. But that plays into the whole rest of the movie, is that these people are missing or never existed in the first place. There's no record of them. And Gavin, the guy who's put this all together, put this film together, and found the footage, tries finding them, no records, like I said. And it all pretty much lies on Gavin's word, basically, like his word that I found this footage and that I didn't doctor it in any way except for just splicing it together and editing it and stuff like that. And it all rests on him, that it's his word against, everybody's belief, whether it's real or not. And I wrote again, I said, I love how this film dives into and just dissects the entire found footage genre. It does it so well, and a lot of the movie is basically really tearing apart this subgenre of horror. And how we get a cameo later by Eduardo Sanchez, who directed the Blair Witch Project and everything, and even him coming out and saying different, I'll get to that, but like, real cool how it's like a dissection of found footage in general. And they make a lot of great points, which a lot of people, as I've said in other found footage reviews I've done, that it's a very split subgenre of horror. Some people cannot stand found footage movies. Some people really love found footage. And there's really not many in the middle, I've noticed. Like, it's like a love it or hate it genre. So I really like found footage. It depends on the movie, obviously. There's so many shit ones out there. Like, if I had to think of a ratio or percentage, there's probably like 10% of them out there are good to great, and 90% of them are absolutely abysmal. But it's par for the course. They're cheap as shit to make. I mean, think of this 80s slasher craze from the 80s and how cheap they were to make, and the oversaturation of that market. These are even cheaper to make found footage movies. And same thing happened. Just complete oversaturation of that subgenre. There are so many found footage movies. You go on Amazon Prime or Tubi, there you can find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of found footage films. And most of them are absolutely terrible. I've watched a lot of them, and there are not that many that I might do like a top 10. I'm not big on lists, but I might do like a top 10 found footage thing one day and put like the ones that I really think are like at the top of the heap of the genre and stuff. But that's an idea maybe for the future. So every time we see footage of Peeping Tom, every time that we see on the student's camera and stuff, every time they turn it off and turn it back on, which acts as like the camera's blinking. So they turn it off and turn it on, and then they start seeing Peeping Tom in the background, and every time the camera shuts off, turns back on, it seems to be getting closer and closer to the camera. Which is cool. There's some cool shots and stuff. There's some creepy shots in this movie. I mean, there's really not many jump scares. And like I said, this isn't really like a full-on found footage movie. It's like a found footage film inside a documentary, inside another documentary, inside the film we're watching. It's, like I said, it's so fucking complicated and stuff to talk about. But I think when Sophia says the line and stuff, like when they're talking, her and Feldman and stuff, and she's just like, how are people not believing this? Like, you can't fake footage like that. You can't fake footage like that. Come on. Like, what type of stupid thing is that to say? I mean, I know it's because for them, they're experiencing it. They know it's real because they didn't fake it. But to say that you can't fake that footage, like, come on. And it's even mentioned and discussed many times later in the film. Like, that it could be manipulation and stuff. And that whole found footage documentary with the students and stuff is all in black and white. And, like, it's a stylistic choice and stuff, as one of the film critics or whatever in an interview later says that, like, it was obviously a stylistic choice, but it's easier to hide manipulation and practical effects and stuff like that in black and white than it would be in color. And he's right about that. But her just making that comment that you can't fake this footage, like, really, like, who's gonna believe you? Like, and they say too, you know, it's just a guy at the other end of the tunnel that you had dress up in black and a top hat and fucking stand up at the end of the hour. Like, it's so easy to fake. Like, that's such a stupid line. It's so fucking easy to fake this footage. Like, this is like the easiest footage to fake ever. It just point a camera down a tunnel and just have someone laying on the ground the whole time, and at the end just stand up. Like, there you go. There's your footage. There's no way to fake that footage. Get the fuck out of here. Gavin's just he's a dick, man. Like, he tries to come off as sincere and stuff, and he isn't lying. Like, he really found this footage and he really does believe it's real and stuff. But just like the way that his character is like portrayed and stuff, like in this movie, it's just like, I don't know, like the way he treats his wife and stuff, and like when they have little mini discussions on camera, like the 2 or 3 times throughout the movie, and he like totally ignores his son, and like he even empties out his son's college account to pay for and finance this film that he's working on, which is fucked up, dude. That's so fucked up. Are you kidding me? You empty out your son's college fund for this movie? For any reason? Come on, dude. That's so fucked up. That's what I mean. But in a way, it works still, because they kind of had to make his character a little sleazy and stuff and come off the way he does to show how much doubt is thrown at him throughout this whole movie. Like, he is torn apart through this whole movie. Like, every person he takes his footage to, like financing group and paranormal investigative group and stuff that he shows the footage to, and later on the radio station and everything, like, they all tear this guy apart, like, completely. And you really start, like, at least I start to feel for the guy, man. It's like, dude, he's just trying to make a film. He's just trying to put this footage out there and prove that it's real, and he just gets shit from everywhere. But again, like I said, you can't blame people, because this has all been done 1,000 times before, found footage, and presenting it as real footage and everything. It's been done so many times, ever since, even before the Blair Witch Project. But that's what popularized it and everything, which is cool that we get a little Ed Sanchez cameo in this. And he brings it to like an audio specialist and stuff that analyzed the audio. I thought it was a cool little touch that they noticed that every clip when the camera turns back on in the student's film after the tunnel sequence when Peeping Tom first appears. There's a sound, like a distortion sound or whatever, in each footage, like each clip after the cameras turn back on, and they notice that it, like, on the audio program they're looking at, that it looks like Morse code, and they end up translating the Morse code, and it says it equates to blink, which then again they just give him shit and saying, like, well, we're not saying that you put this in there, you could have, like, we don't know you from Adam, like, you could have put this in there and stuff, but easily they could have put it in there also. But then we have, like, this little cool little debate between the two audio specialists saying how, like, it would be a ton of work for these two kids to, like, take the footage off these little, I forgot what they use, like little, like the little cassette tapes and shit, like, I don't know, like I said, I'm not a camera person, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but like small ass tapes, and to put it into like software and then add this to every single new clip after the bridge scene, and then import it back onto the, like, mini DVRs, I think is what they said. Could be wrong, like I said, I'm not a camera expert, but cool little touch with the Morse code sound and stuff in there. I like that a lot. Like I wrote here, Gavin gets blasted by everybody in this movie, like everybody. The audio specialist, the video specialist, the paranormal group. He goes to a paranormal group that, like, has like a big Facebook following of like 8,000, 10,000 people or something, and they have like a conference and stuff that he shows the footage of, just the tunnel footage of when Peeping Tom appears on the other side of the tunnel, and they all just, like, one of the women even asks, like, I want to know what medication you're on. And they blast the shit out of this poor guy, man. I mean, like I said, he comes across as like a sleazeball in a way, but he kind of has to, and like the way that they made his character was very well done, in my opinion. We get a creepy shot of Feldman sleeping on the couch, and Peeping Tom is like I said, he keeps getting closer and closer every time the camera is turned back on, and you just see Peeping Tom's image like in the mirror above where he's sleeping. It doesn't really draw much attention to it until like the end of the scene, which I've mentioned in a lot of movie reviews I've done, that I love that, like when things are just in the background and not brought attention to them and let you find it for yourself. I love that in movies. Like, I have no like crazy jump scares, sound cues or anything like that, or violins going like, to let you know that there's something there. It's just right there in the background, and like you have to find it yourself. And I love that in horror movies. And then we even get into like casting doubt on the original footage that the students made and stuff, and saying that Sophia does like a journal entry and stuff on the video, on camera, saying that she found Feldman's notebook, his journal, and that she sees like what looks like concept art for Peeping Tom, like his appearance and stuff, like sketches of him and drawings of him, and like it looks like storyboard art. And like she's making this little journal entry on her camera that like she's not saying, you know, she respects Feldman and stuff. They made a movie together that she won an award for, and for some reason he didn't get an award for it either, even though they worked on it together. And they dive into casting doubt on their original footage and stuff, saying that Feldman could have been manipulating the cameras without Sophia knowing, or that Sophia could have been playing a prank on Feldman, or that both of them were in it together and stuff, because they were talking about the film they made before that they won the award for, and that they actually used an actress, and there was like 5 stories or something in their film about like people who passed away and stuff. I forget what the name of the movie's called. There's too many fucking layers to pay attention to as it is in this film. So I'm not remembering the name of some film that they made in this fake documentary being fucking investigated by this dude who's a filmmaker, being documented by this crew in this movie that we're watching. So I can't even believe that I was able to say all that in sequence and not confuse the shit out of myself. But in the film that they did previously, like they had 5 stories and stuff where they had real people telling stories of friends who passed away and stuff, and then they couldn't get, for some reason, the woman for one of their stories, and they cast an actress and they cast doubt on that and saying that they're on film saying that they had an actress in their first movie that they accepted an award for, which is it's so well done. Just the way that they break down every layer of this genre of found footage and like every layer of this movie, of just the documentary crew and then Gavin and stuff and his story and trying to prove it's real and then diving into the original footage. Like, it's very, very well done. Like, very unique, very original. Like, that's one thing I could really say about this movie. It's very unique and it's very interesting and it's very well done. Like, it's a great premise, especially for a found footage movie, fake documentary, whatever you want to call it. Because this, like I said, it's not like a straight up found footage movie. Like, the only real found footage we have is the original two students film that they worked on. That was all about the Peeping Tom stuff. That's about it. Like, there's like one jump scare in this movie, like near the end. And like, that's it. There's no jump scares. And it's like more documentary, faux documentary than actual found footage. And it just works, man. It really does. And, Gavin ends up going on a DC 101 radio station to try to promote his film and, saying that it's real and everything, that he found the footage. And he, again, just gets blasted, man, by all the callers who call in saying, like, what type of fucking idiot would actually believe this is real? Like, we know you just made this yourself. And then just totally just annihilated by everybody who calls into DC 101. And then we get the cameo from Eduardo Sanchez, the director of the Blair Witch Project, and he starts talking about it, and he even pokes fun at himself a little bit, which is great to see, and saying, like, he's pointing out tropes in the found footage genre and saying that, like, when I watched it, like, I noticed certain things that, like, the camera always happens to be on when they capture something crazy or interesting and stuff, which is such a big trope in the found footage genre, and that no one's that lucky in real life to, like, always have the camera running. And he's right, these are things we see in so many found footage films. And he just goes on dissecting his film and stuff like that, and pretty much blasting him too. Like, even Eduardo Sanchez, who made the Blair Witch Project and promoted that shit as real at the beginning, like before they released it and everything, is still like calling this guy out and saying, like, eventually somebody's going to come forward with some proof showing that this film that you put together from these two students is fake. And that it's going to ruin your reputation and everything. And they start saying, how is this just your way of getting your foot in the door into Hollywood, and you're just making this movie for yourself and for the money and everything. Like, dissecting every aspect of the genre and the movie itself, which I think is very brilliantly done. Actually, I would go as far as say that it's brilliantly done, the way that they dissect everything in this movie. Like, really, really cool. Then we see a news report of Feldman, the camera dude from the students' original film. It's so fucking complicated. And we see, like, a news report of him being found dead in his apartment or his house or whatever. And he was, like, found under the kitchen sink. And so Blinkman got him. And we see Sophia talking about on camera about his death and everything like that, and that she went over to his house and his parents let her take, like, all the rest of the footage that he had and stuff, since they worked on the project together and they knew her and everything. And the last tape was, like, broken and unspooled, and she ended up putting it back together after a few days, but, like, said also that it doesn't really matter because Feldman was smart and he had a surveillance tape also filming, and he had, like, a few blinks left until Peeping Tom was going to get him. So he set up the camera in front of him with a mirror behind him so it would get both sides of him. And he has a fucking hammer. Dude, come on. Like, who in the right mind is going to think that a hammer is going to stop some supernatural entity from just absolutely annihilating you. Like, come on, that's so stupid. Fucking, like, don't think of something better, man. Fucking than a hammer or a fucking 2x4. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, as soon as this ghost dude appears, I'm gonna whack him in the head with this hammer, and that'll be the end of that. Fucking, I'll fucking kill him with this hammer. Come on, how stupid that is. But he's dead. So then we get the camera crew, and Gavin's been missing now for like almost 2 weeks, they said, or something like that, like 10 days, close to 2 weeks or so. He's been missing, and the camera crew who's making the documentary of Gavin, making the fucking film about the students, gets a package from Gavin, who's, like I said, been missing for almost 2 weeks, containing Feldman's journal that we see that had like the storyboard art and everything like that. So he was able to track down that journal somehow, even though we found no record of them in the first place when he first started looking into all this. So they thought, the camera crew discusses and says it could be a prop. If Gavin made all this up and made all this footage and filmed the whole documentary, filmed the students making this documentary, it's just a prop from that. But if not, then like, how did he find this? And this is the actual journal from this Feldman guy. And they also get like a tape and stuff that they don't play right away, and then they get a hotel key also in there, and then also Gavin's journal. So they're like, maybe it says what he's been doing the last almost 2 weeks that he's been missing and everything. So they track down the hotel that the hotel key is for, and they go into his room, and there's cameras set up everywhere. The place is trashed because earlier on we see the camera crew, before he disappears for 2 weeks, they go and find Gavin on the tunnel. It's on the train tracks where the tunnel is. And he's using his camera in the same way that the students did to capture Peeping Tom. So we're assuming that he captured him on his camera. And they end up going into the hotel room, and they find all these cameras all over the place, but the cards are missing. And one of them goes in the bathroom, and Gavin's just dead, man. He's fucking, they don't show it, but he's fucking dead. So apparently Peeping Tom did appear to him on the camera and did murder him. So the cops show up and stuff, and they're debating, like, they explain what happened. They're a documentary crew making this documentary about this guy, blah, blah, blah. And they found him dead here and everything. And then after they talk to the cops, they're, discussing to themselves and saying, like, should we give them the tapes to show them the tape of us finding his body and stuff? And they're saying, no, we shouldn't, because then they can take all the tapes and everything. So they have their own little ending that they're trying to find for this documentary. And like, and even they have some arguments between themselves, like saying, like, that we pushed this guy too far. Like, we drove this guy insane, basically, and kept, like, pushing him and like trying to get an ending for their documentary while he's trying to get an ending for his film about the college students' film. If anyone's watching this who hasn't seen this movie, and I say this a lot, like watching a spoiler review for a movie you haven't seen, like, you just gotta watch the movie, because if not, this all sounds absolutely insane. Which it is, but it's done very well, like, as I keep saying, it really is. But they're arguing about him and stuff like that, and saying, like, they put him on DC 101 and had Eduardo Sanchez call in and stuff, so they, like, set him up for failure. And, like, the director of the documentary crew was saying, like, if all you have these morals all of a sudden and stuff, then why do you show up with cameras and you keep filming this and stuff? Like, you're saying I ruined this guy's life and everything. And they have their little arguments back and forth with that, which is diving into their little project and everything. Just the way, like I keep saying, the way that they dissect every part of this film, just from the film itself and the whole subgenre of found footage, to the initial video by the film students, to Gavin's whole project on proving it's real, to the documentary about Gavin, about the kids proving it's real. Like, they jump into every single layer of it and dissect it and question it, and it's so well done and so interesting, so unique. So then we have a clip of Sophia near the end saying that she had a dream of going down to the train trestle, to the tunnel, and staring down it for an hour. And she later realized it wasn't a dream, that she actually, something made her get up and go down there, and actually stared for an hour without blinking. So now she's got Peeping Tom after her, man. And she don't want the Blick man coming to get her. So then we have just the final scene with the camera crew when they're talking about what to do with the footage and stuff, because they're like, we don't have an ending. And the director ends up saying, like, we don't need an ending. Like, our job was to follow Gavin's story and do a character study on him. And the footage and everything in there, we don't have to present it as real. Like, we'll leave that for people to make their own assumptions on. Like, this footage, this film student's footage that Gavin was putting together is just part of his story. And that's what we were making, a documentary about him, about his story. And if we put it out there and stuff as that, then this is just the beginning. And that other people will take from that what they will, and they'll go further with it and investigate and explore this whole myth and urban legend and story of Gavin and everything in more depth, and we'll see what happens. So that's their idea of what to do with their ending for their documentary. Then we just get the ending, which is the same opening interview with Sophia, and saying, show this to my parents and that I don't know how much longer I'll be alive and stuff. But then we see the rest of the interview that we didn't see at the beginning, and her saying that she thinks she found a way to cheat Peeping Tom, and she ends up breaking a frame picture or whatever. It takes a piece of glass and she just cuts her fucking eyelids off, dude. Like, the camera distorts a bit and stuff, so you don't see much, but it looks cool. Like, it doesn't look bad. Like, it's decent. So she ends up cutting her eyelids off and shit. And then we have credits. But then there's like a mid-credit sequence that I didn't even remember was there. Like, I don't think I saw it. Like, maybe like the first time I saw this movie, and then the few rewatches after that, like, I totally forgot it was there. But we see her, basically the tape that was sent to the documentary crew by Gavin when he was missing is the footage that we see in the mid-credits. And it's just Sophia, like, security camera on her in a mental institution with no eyelids and stuff, and she's just like gazing and stuff, and she's just, as we can assume, she's reaching out and like touching and petting what we assume to be Peeping Tom. And hey, 37 minutes, that's not as bad as I thought it would be, man. It is a great found footage movie, fake documentary, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's still awesome. It's, like I said, it's not well known. It's still pretty obscure. Even, I'm like, fans of the found footage genre have seen this movie at this point. But like I said, it's getting more recognition as the years go on, which it absolutely deserves. Like I said, if I had to make a top 10 list, this would absolutely be on it. Like, without a doubt. Without a doubt. As also with Grave Encounters, the first one that I reviewed earlier tonight, and I don't know, I'll save that for if I ever do like a top 10 list or something for the found footage movies. But if anyone watches this, like I always say, without seeing the movie, just watch it. Because me talking about it, it doesn't do it justice at all, and it's confusing as shit. So, this is probably the end of found footage night this week. This probably won't be up until early morning Saturday, but I recorded this like just before midnight, so still counts. So everyone have a good night, and I'm going to try to knock out a review on just some random movie tomorrow morning before I have to head to a cousin's birthday party. But everyone have a good night, good morning, wherever you're from, and take care.